Good evening.
What if we could try to play Eruption on the kazoo?
I don't think you can, dude. I don't think it's possible. Right off the bat, Matt G sends us $2, says, congrats on 18K subs. Well, thank you. It only took us 5 years to get here. Is this a celebration stream? No, not offhand. If we do any kind of celebration, it'd probably be for 20K. But at this point, I'm gonna be like, I ain't doing shit till I get 25, because that means it ain't gonna happen. But hello, everybody. Welcome. We got with us Script Doctor. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I've finished my assignments, and I'm just taking a day right now. So happy
Excellent.
to be here with you guys.
And then we also have the voice of Midnight's Edge, Rob, of course.
Come on, Edith, give me a beer here.
Oh, auntie. And we also have the Queen Harpy herself, Miss Macarendum.
I got the music here somewhere. Hold on. Here we
go. Host though.
Well, take a look who's in the back.
Baby.
Expensive ass baby. It costs almost as much as a real kid.
Right?
You almost have a dozen now, don't you?
I have a few.
He's got almost every one of them. Almost
plushie and a animatronic and a couple of posters here and there. And
you could do your own Baker's dozen remake of Baby Yoda.
Right? Or Baby Yoda cooking show.
Oh boy, we got some interesting stuff to discuss.
We do need to call attention to something. There is apparently
the hair that's sticking out of your nose.
No, the whole community of YouTubers that deface their Baby Yodas. Isn't that right, Mac?
They chop up their arms and make them articulated.
Like you spend that
on the hot toy one?
I think on all of them and the sideshow, yeah.
Oh wow.
Listen, you spend that much money on a
sideshow, yeah.
It breaks my heart. Don't chop up Baby Yodas.
Well, at least they're doing it for good reason, and it's not just to be assholes.
I know.
Stephen Otten sends in $5, says, fine, I won't congratulate you until you reach 20K, LOL. Well, don't. I don't think we've deserved it yet. We've sat here at this level for a while, and I feel content.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was something worse, that they were just being a dick, because there are people that would do that.
Did you watch the new Coming to America trailer, Rob?
No, I did not.
I figured you didn't do your goddamn homework.
Oh,
can we watch it here?
I loved it. Cats. I'm going to watch it again and again. All right, give me.
Yeah,
it's a 2.5-minute trailer.
Well, we'll get hit for it either way.
Well, they'll claim it, so everybody has to super chat, and since it's not my channel, I can ask for him.
I'll play it at double speed, so that won't take me as long.
I'll just show the damn thing.
No, it's okay. Put the link to the trailer in the chat.
Did his homework. Class. Thank you. Oh, Lord. Here we go. All right. StreamYard, share screen. And boom.
We just have to talk over to make it transformative.
Yeah, we'll get over it.
Ooh, Prime Video.
Yeah. Valiant Renegade. Jesus, I cannot talk tonight or read for that matter. Rob, I'm paying for a full unhinged rant on Coming to America trailer. Do it. It's looking like they're going to wreck one of my favorite movies ever. Well, let's see on that. Yeah. This new trailer has me somewhat worried, but I'll comment on it afterwards. Let's give it a shot here.
Hey, what you doing back here? Say it again, feel right in his neck. just discovered that I may have a son here in this land.
How much child support is she getting from?
The king pays no child support.
No child support for 30 years and you came back? You was a dummy.
Speaking of child support, we got a $2 super chat from Willie Woodward.
Hello, I am Hakim Jaffa, king of Zamunda. You are the heir to the throne. Yes, my son.
He's supposed to be like the prince of Wakanda.
Wakanda is a fictional place.
Not to everybody.
Zamunda is a very real nation.
I don't need no handout. Wait a minute. All right, I'm gonna pay. Okay, baby.
Presenting King Akeem's son from America.
And my mom's.
And his mom's.
Children, this is your brother.
Hey, Quang. I'm sorry I slept with your man.
This happened before we even met.
It's not like you're the first man I've ever been with.
What did you just say about the other men?
Coming to America, now it's coming to me.
I always thought that Mika was going to be queen.
A woman isn't allowed to rule Zamunda. It's the law.
Did it ever occur to you that Mika wanted to be your heir?
Don't you dare banish me from my own bedroom.
So far, so good. Hello?
But what's Power Patty compels you is, and she's.
I know, yeah. Well,
somewhat worried, more like.
Am I supposed to be offended by this?
No, I don't think so.
Glad you go 30 years child support and you came back. You a dummy.
Yeah, this is the one I want to ask. It is in reverse. Listen to the music in the trailer. It's kind of a reversal on the story. Hey, Robert, how you doing?
I am well. He brought his trailer voice with him. I did. Coming to America too. We're just watching the trailer quick.
From everywhere. I have upset my family.
You must be strong.
And General Izzy would love nothing more than to take over Zamunda.
Raise it higher.
I'm a king.
Put your hands together.
Like that.
Say it again.
Give me all.
It's a party over here.
I must admit, your style is far into my kingdom, but it's impressive.
That's right. There you go. Let me hear you say, hey, ho.
Hey, ho.
No, don't do that. That's his mother.
Oh, don't you say that.
No, not to his mother.
I'm a king.
Almost ready to become a prince.
Almost.
It is time.
Ceremonial circumcision.
Bring forward the royal machete.
They're going to sharpen your tool, nephew.
Coming to America, now it's coming to me.
All right.
I'm a king.
Well, we need more comedies these days.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we find out that he never really did sleep with her. That's not really his kid.
Yeah.
They're kind of setting that up, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So anyway.
Yeah. Welcome,
part of
Robert.
that premise reminds me of Mrs. Winterbourne with Brendan Fraser and Ricky Lake. Just there's some sort of scheme going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
It looks very 90s.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, because certainly be nice to get back to some funny, comedies. But
but speaking of funny comedies, Mecca and I both have to ask you, Mr. Burnett, have you been watching Resident Alien?
No, I have not, but I keep reading the stories about how it differs from the comic book.
Well,
I think it is. I think it does differ from the comic book, but I have not read the.
Is it good?
We love it.
Pretty good.
It is very good.
Yeah,
because I want to see it. I haven't. I'm so behind. I want to catch up with it. It looks good. It looks right up my alley.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say you're busy with Tango Shalom, which I'm looking forward to seeing.
Hey, it won Strip where we won awards in the Montreal. They have like some monthly film festival. We won Best Comedy and Best Actor yesterday.
Oh, congratulations!
In Montreal, yeah. So that was
congratulations.
That's a good thing to achieve, because the Montreal populace, at least on the film boards, they are very snooty about their comedies. So you hit a good spot there then.
Yeah, it was that was pretty unexpected. So they do this monthly thing and then it goes into the annual something. I don't quite get it, but they love us in Canada.
which is good. And then we debut. We're at the San Diego Jewish Film Festival next week, and they did an article about it in the San Diego Union, the local paper today, and we were the lead story, the lead review, and we got 3 stars, so I'll take it.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's amazing.
I'm
Congratulations.
very looking forward to seeing this film. It's
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. Totally a micro budget, movie. It was a labor of love. So it's good. It's good. I mean, I'll be curious to hear what you think.
Well, no, it's even more like it was even more interesting hearing your story about how it came to be and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we can't wait to check it out, and we'll definitely tell you what we think.
Yeah,
and
the Netflix series, the announcement for that I'm working on was pushed from February 12th to February 16th.
Okay.
So that will be of interest to a certain conglomerate of gamers.
Oh,
yeah, which is all I can
you gave
say.
us a little hint. You dropped more than you dropped before.
That makes it a smart move to do it after Valentine's Day, because the last thing you want is to distract all those gamers from Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
so
I know,
that if
right?
they have girlfriends,
God
they won't forget.
Fuck off, I'm gaming. No, Roger Haynes sends in a thumbs up sticker. Thank you so much. And our buddy Paulie from the Latino Slant says, what was the last great comedy? Could this be one? Maybe. That's a great question, though. I mean,
I like Dolomite Is My Name.
Yeah, that was a good
I
comedy,
really like that.
but was that more of a biopic than a comedy, would you say? I mean,
A little both.
Yeah.
Rudy Ray's more is hysterical.
Because I mean, you could even consider like Guardians of the Galaxy almost a comedy. But I mean, the last movie that I would say that I would consider like a straightforward comedy that we've had that was good, probably Step Brothers or something like that.
Wow,
Maybe.
that was a long time ago.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to think.
I always point to the last really good comedy I saw was A Futile and Stupid Gesture.
Well, but that's also a biopic too, ain't it?
It's also a biopic, yeah.
Did Tropic Thunder come out before or after Step
Tropic
Brothers?
Thunder came out
Oh, Bad-
2007 or 8.
Super Bad came out after that, though. That may have been the last one, I guess.
Wow, that's
Superbad was all right.
You know what? I love Get Him to the Greek.
That was pretty good too. That was around the same
I
time.
love
Yeah,
that
it's pretty
movie more than I care to admit.
It is one of those movies that didn't have the right to be so good, and I never knew it until like recent years that the character that what's his face?
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand
Russell Brand is
Aldous
playing
Snow.
is the same character from the other movie until like
Forgetting
Yeah.
Sarah Marshall, dude.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
sequel. Come
I
on.
didn't even put 2 and 2 together because I didn't really care for the first one, so I only saw it once and it was a toss away to me. But I loved Get Him to the Greek, and then I just happened to stumble upon some article years back that like pointed out the fact that they were related, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even know that.
Sean Combs is Sergio. Oh, I love that.
Oops, sorry, that was me.
What the hell was that, Rob?
That was a soundbite from something.
I'm a huge fan of both of those movies, Forgetting Sarah Marshall but Get Him to the Greek. There's just something about that movie that I just adore.
I don't know, something about Forgetting Sarah Marshall just didn't click with me, but no, I loved Get Him to the Greek and all that stuff. Yeah, that's probably the last good era for comedy. Last time they were really worried about offending somebody, basically. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, like Tropic Thunder, I'm sure it would get,
Well, they've already brought up how that's problematic.
It's still a brilliant film.
Yeah,
one of
it's
those
so-
comedies about making a movie that's really, really good.
It's
Anchorman
so
2
good.
is pretty good. I forgot about Anchorman 2.
First
That
of all,
one's good.
I'm offended by everybody who gets offended by things in comedies. The world that we live in now is becoming unfun. People need to go find their inner smile.
I'm only offended by 2 things in this world: those who get offended by everything and those who use offensive language. That was my play on the Austin Powers joke, but
And the
anyway.
Dutch.
There's only
Those
2
who are
things I don't
intolerant
like
of
in
other
this
people's
world:
differences and the Dutch.
those
yeah.
who are intolerant of others and the Dutch.
Of course, he's Belgium and he's evil. They share a border with the Dutch.
That was like one of the only lines I laughed at in that movie. But no, like I think this movie might be all right. Are we afraid that maybe it's not as good as it could be, and that's why it got dumped on Amazon, or is it just?
I don't think so.
No,
I mean,
I think it's
'cause-
just they're trying to get it out to people and the best way they can, given the climate.
Captain
This
A-
one feels more of like
Paramount's in they're making a profit.
Yeah.
Very true. I'm not disagreeing with that.
And
at
they're
all.
buying up a lot of scripts right now. So
Captain Harris says, so Gary Buddy, Pet Judge is a thing on Prime. Mead watch party when? Pet Judge. I think you sent that to the wrong place. Pet Judge. Why would we watch Pet Judge?
I don't know.
What is a pet judge? Is this like
I'm not sure.
the people's court, but you're making a
That
case
would
to
be
a dog?
fucking hilarious. Actually, now I want to see.
Yeah, people bring up Hot Fuzz in the chat.
Yeah, but when did that one come out?
Oh, the Cornetto trilogy is pretty great.
Yeah, World's End and all that stuff.
But Shaun the Dead, Hot Fuzz are two of the more prominent ones of those three. I enjoyed quite a bit.
But I'm glad you're here, Mr. Burnett, because
I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Lawyer fucked me.
We got more news about Picard, of course, being delayed again. Not a surprise at all.
Good.
Thank God.
I don't think this is coming to as a surprise to anybody. And I think it wasn't you, Mecca, that saw this tweet a couple days back from Jerry Ryan, or
Yeah, I think
somebody
she had
sent
a tweet
it to me.
like a month ago or something that was
But
delayed.
this one was from like but this one is also from like a few days ago.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and then she probably tweeted it again then, or they got delayed.
Yeah, or somebody asked again, is it true filming of season 2 of Picard starts tomorrow? Can't wait. No, but soon. Sure.
And we should also add that comicbook.com is the official propaganda arm of CBS and Star Trek. So
yeah, so they're not doing a very good job of painting this in a good light.
I'm out of Star Trek unless somebody tells me that there's something worth watching.
Yeah, I'm Andre's forcing me to watch season 4, but I almost like stood up in protest.
Season 4 won't be out for a year.
I know.
Oh well,
But,
given the track record, it's going to be a year and a half. It won't be out because they keep delaying it.
But speaking of Star Trek and Kurtzman, did you happen to see EW's takedown of
Dude, you know what? I actually
Clarice?
sang it as a Klingon opera. The entire review.
Man, I want to hear that.
I can't even. I had to go phonetically, figure out every word in the review. I mean, do you know what I loved about that? I loved. First of all, I hated that pilot script. The first 15 pages is her talking to a therapist and it intercuts, and I'm like, this is the laziest. After Hannibal, if you're going to do a Thomas Harris based series, and you already have Hannibal as your baseline, and you turn out that script, you've already failed. And it's just I read this script. I'm like, what is this? What is this? And that EW takedown was richly deserved.
Right?
I mean, we live in a golden age of television, whether you're watching The Queen's Gambit, whether you're watching Better Call Saul, whether you're watching, pick your show that you love. There is no excuse for lame adaptations of well-trodden material that have already won Academy Awards. You're following up Silence of the Lambs, a movie that won Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Picture, and you shovel up this bullshit? I mean, give me a break. What world do you live in? Why besmirch the very thing that you're supposed to be honoring?
Right. Ridley Scott already tried this in Hannibal and he failed. So
I'm a fan of Hannibal.
I enjoyed the film, but I mean, it didn't.
But it is what I mean. It was Thomas Harris was writing Hannibal to say fuck you to all the people that thought Hannibal Lecter was a hero. And that's what happened. Anthony Hopkins was a love interest as far as the world was concerned.
Right.
And I just thought Clarice, I'm like, you know what? Terrible. It was just, right. And that Entertainment Weekly takedown was well deserved.
And also long overdue, sadly, but well deserved.
Well, you're getting blamed for something, Robert. Crazy Eyed Jedi says he blames you for his Spider-Man 2099 Hot Toys purchase.
Bro, wait a minute. I have mine right behind me. Right here. Wait.
I almost. Oh, don't break shit, dude.
No. That was just dropped a few Blu-rays. Hang on.
Okay, not as bad, but I was gonna say, don't break one of your toys, man.
No.
No, I almost entered your contest, but I'm like, no, I'll be a good boy. Because my luck, I would actually win or something.
Here it is. Spider-Man
2099.
2099. This is a great figure, by the way. I quite enjoy this. I haven't taken it out of the box.
Drilling yet, Rob?
But it's pretty great.
Then Stephen Otten says, Clarice sounds like a wash. I hope they don't F up the Equalizer. Oh, I think the Equalizer's already fucked up.
Just watch the original Equalizer.
Yeah. But as far as Clarice goes, what I loved about the takedown wasn't so much that it was a bad review of Clarice, because that's all it could have been, right?
Right.
No. This critic went out of their fucking way to just rip Kurtzman a new asshole. Like, I don't know if you saw it on my Twitter, but I like tagged Doomcock in, and I'm like, dude, did you write this review?
Well, I mean, it's, look, I respect anybody that's able to work in Hollywood and do something creative, but a continual reuse of other people's IPs as the basis of your business model is, I think, really eventually abhorrent. Like, why not make something new? Why do you take other people's work and then make something that devalues years, decades worth of material? Both Thomas Harris's original novels and the rich film legacy. I mean, Hannibal Rising, okay, but you have two versions of Red Dragon. You've got Silence of the Lambs. You've got Ridley Scott's Hannibal, and then you turn out a show like Clarice, and it has all of the creativity of, well, nothing. And
well,
I
as we
don't
keep joking, like, yeah, once you take Hannibal out of the equation, you just basically have a procedural FBI drama.
Well, it's a procedural with the veneer of this universe, and it's
with the
and that's
veneer, but it's not. It's just a typical run of the mill. What is it going to bring to the table? Nothing. And that's what these reviews are saying. Outside of the few random good ones it did get, which of course they're just fucking pandering. But like, no, I was so happy to see Entertainment Weekly, which, Robert, as you know, is generally one of the papers that's more prestigious, and they do like kind of tote that line of wokeism now, and they generally don't do that kind of a takedown of somebody like that, especially the way I can't believe that got past an editor. Like, that was crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, but when it comes right down to it, the last time we saw a television series based on Thomas Harris's work, it was Hannibal,
right?
Which has an incredible, nightmare, surreal, crazy, amazing point of view, and it's beautifully made, and the cinematography was incredible, and you've got Mads Mikkelsen playing Hannibal, and all of the other actors were tremendous, and the thought and the care that went behind the production of that series. And then they serve up Clarice as part of a CBS lineup. It's like, come on, man. If you're not making it better than Hannibal, why are you doing it?
Right.
Why are you asking an audience to watch this show if all you're doing is half-assing it? The way that they half-assed season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, to the point where, John Ottman was brought in to help save the first half of the season.
Well, and that was the point I was going to get to, is like, beyond Clarice, like that's what the review was getting at. Like, it took him down for Star Trek, the Dark Universe, Spider-Man, and Transformers.
Oh, it missed one though. The Legend of Zorro. Him and remember, the Mask of Zorro was a huge hit. It kind of elevated Antonio Banderas, and then a few years later they followed up with The Legend of Zorro, which is Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman writing it, and it bombed horribly because it was a terrible, terrible script and story, and it killed a potential franchise that the studio was really happy to have like captured in that original film. So like that's where he got his, one of his earlier starts with killing existing IP.
Right. And that was what I was saying originally with the whole point, was like, it would be one thing if this was just a bad review of Clarice, which whatever. But like, the point is that this reviewer decided to go after almost every other nook and cranny that Kurtzman has touched now. And we've never seen that before out of a reviewer who's just decided to rake him over the coals like that. He's usually somebody who's, in that protected zone, it seems like.
Well, the question should be asked, why does he keep getting these opportunities?
Oh, I think that's a great question. Yeah.
Is there a financial, are these films making more money than we've thought? Because, it seems to be that in his career, in terms of what he's touched, mediocrity is being continually rewarded.
Oh, absolutely.
And in terms of Paramount, as Star Trek's franchise is concerned, like, you know, in a way, if you look at how many different shows we've already got, Picard, Discovery, and Lower Decks, and would you say that those are having the same kind of resonance that Star Trek had in 94 when you had Next Generation going off the air, Deep Space Nine on the air, Voyager ramping up, and Generations being made?
Well,
when Star Trek was on the cover of Time magazine?
Well,
and yet
obviously not. Yeah.
No, but it's like the question begs to be asked.
Yeah.
Why does he have, like, I would love it if somebody just, if Paramount said, okay, we have a new creative team that has nothing to do with Bad Robot, nothing to do with Secret Hideout, making a Star Trek movie for us. Get their claws out of that franchise and bring in another creative team and create some creative competition and have some people come in and knock it out of the park. And it could only benefit Paramount. You know, they got Paramount Plus. Why are they beholden to these people that are overspending and turning out? Yeah, I'm sure it's contractual, but what, does Paramount have a contract that they can't? Didn't Bad Robots tyrannical reign over the Star Trek franchise? Hasn't it ended?
That part
ended. Ending this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but then we don't know what Moonves put in that fucking contract before he left. And that's
what does that have to do? What does that have to do with Paramount? You know, I mean, the question arises. It's like, look at what's happening at Disney. You have one faction making these films, and then you have where's the Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni making their Star Trek version of The Mandalorian?
Well, Robert Meyer Burnett, we're talking about it here. You, me.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it just hasn't happened yet.
You know, like I told somebody on an earlier stream I was on today, I don't have that kind of credibility. Like, even if somebody in it like called me tomorrow and said, Rob, we want to hire you to run Star Trek at Paramount. If I were to say, great, that would be fine. The problem that I would run into is none of the people that I would need to make that kind of a Star Trek show would give me the time of day. They wouldn't believe in me because I don't have a track record in that milieu. And so I could never command those troops. They wouldn't believe in me.
I think you undersell yourself, but at the same time, you may need some new troops, though.
Well, but what I mean is I don't have any credibility in that realm.
I get where you're coming from.
You know, I've never show run a TV show, and like I could consult with the writers' room, but even then, the writers would be like, "Fuck you! What have you ever written?" You know,
that's the problem right there, Robert.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it.
Yeah, and you need that kind of credibility for people to believe in you. And while what I would do is I would hire people, I would handpick a writer's room of 10 people, 11 because script would be part of it. And I would have people, and I would pick my own people.
I want to be there, but I just want hookers and coke. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah, see, that's a myth, though. You got to wait till the show's good.
I'm kidding.
No. Seriously. You make sure the show's a hit, and you make sure it's great. Then you bring in the hookers and the blow.
No. But here's the thing, Robert, is what you're saying, though, is you think you don't have enough credibility, which I hear you, and I understand where you're coming from. And then you hear me saying, all you do, but you think I'm just, being your friend. I'm not. I'm serious, though. You have 10 times more credibility than anybody who's working on that fucking show right now. And anybody with any brains in their head in Hollywood would know that.
Well, here's what I mean, though. I appreciate you saying so. That you're lovely to say so. But the thing is, I've never worked in television other than directing and editing 5 episodes of a Skinamax
you're
show.
Smart enough to know that, though, Robert. That's the fucking thing.
But that type of credibility doesn't hold much in Hollywood. That's the problem. It's about the reputation as opposed to the ability, and that's the other part too that hinders a lot of really great people is that they're great, but in small doses, or they've only been doing small things throughout the industry.
Yeah,
and they just their reputation has not elevated them to the people. Like, for instance, Robert, you could actually be put in charge of a Star Trek show. It's not so much the people underneath you that you have to get onto your side. It's the people above you. That's
true.
The big part.
But the way I would do that is I would go in and I would say, here's my writer's room. And I would handpick 10 writers that I know that are familiar with great genre programming that I know personally would deliver a great show. And the writer's room would be there would be no strife, and I would run the writer's room to the extent that I would allow these writers to do what they do best, which is write great scripts. And then I would sit there and go, okay, here's what I think we should do. I wouldn't say this is what we absolutely should do, because I would hire people that would be all on the same page. And we would sit down and we would do the work beforehand. Like, for instance, if we're moving 1,000 years in the future, we would, before we would do that, we would write our own mini Bible, meaning that here is the Star Trek universe of the 32nd century as we all understand it. And we have that, whether it was on whiteboards all the way around the room, and we would say, okay, here is our situation. Here's where the universe is at. Here's where all the major powers were at. We would have all of this mapped out. And once we had that done and knew where things were going, then we would start to break stories underneath the umbrella of where we know that the 32nd century of the Star Trek universe is at. So we wouldn't have any questions. So you wouldn't. And everybody would be on the same page, and everybody would have contributed to this story Bible, and it would inform all of the stories, because then would be like, okay, so we still don't know in the 32nd century, why is Starfleet in the middle of why are they sheltered in the middle of space underneath some cloak? Why don't they have their own starbase on a planet? Why aren't they at Earth? Why are they there? Like, we still don't know. It makes no sense at all. And why the Orions? Like, are you telling me in the 32nd century there's a crime syndicate as if they're on Earth during Prohibition? I mean, none of that makes any sense, because nobody working on that show came up with a viable reason for why the 32nd century is this way, other than, well, dilithium doesn't work.
That's what they had as their first tier foundation. Because for those in the chat that may not know, so in the writer's room, when you're developing a show, you do a tier 1 foundation, which is what Robert described, which is basically you establish the state of your universe. Yes. Then as you start to create the story, you then have to rework a little bit of the state of the universe to bend to the characters so you can find a reconciliation, and that's called your tier 2. Then when you break story, that's your tier 3. That's basically where everything is sort of coalesces and makes sure that you're sticking to the rules that you've established, and you're able to, any writer can come in, see those 3 tiers, understand the path of direction, and then plop in a story meeting the parameters of the characters that you've built on a 3-dimensional level, so that your characters are driving the story as opposed to the state of the galaxy or the universe driving the story. Right. And basically, Star Trek Discovery just did tier 1 and the laziest form of tier 1 ever, and then ran with it. And they don't even like the interesting thing is, you already have a Star Trek universe that's been established since 1966. You have major powers. There was no mention of our major powers, whether it was the Romulans, whether it was the Klingons, whether it was the Bajorans, whether it was the Cardassians, other than seeing, oh, there's a Cardassian part of this criminal group. Well, they're a major power in the Alpha Quadrant or Beta Quadrant. What are they doing? What is the state of their situation? It makes so little sense. And the thing is, the writers should have answers to that already before they're writing these stories. They wrote basically a Z grade Charles Band, and I worked at Full Moon, a Full Moon late night sci-fi channel series that was shot for 6 cents 20 years ago. That's what the villains, the Orions, I mean, the Orion pirates, let's make them the villains. Really? I mean, why would you do that? How did they become a major power? Why is everyone running on a junkyard when you have transporter technology all the time? And replicator technology, and programmable matter, and all these things that basically say the situation should not exist in this way in any way, shape, or form. No. And it's frustrating. Now, I would at least know that. And I would say, here's what I would do. And I would handpick this right now. I actually could probably pick up the phone and call most of these people right at this moment and say, hey, here's our show. And it would be great, because I trust these people. I know them, and they would do great work. But the people, when you've written Vampire Diaries and now you're running a Star Trek show. Oh, I can give you some more details on that. So only 2 writers started with Gilmore Girls, and the rest are all from the series Reign, and they have no other pre-existing credits.
Well, and that's exactly my point.
Wait, is that on Discovery or Reign, the Norwegian series? No, Reign, the CW show. Oh, Reign, right. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be of the Scottish royal family of that time. Yeah, right. And so that's it? Bo Young Kim, Erica Lippolds, Gretchen J. Berg, and Aaron Harperts are all from Reign, and nothing prior to that. And then
Jordan Nardino and Lisa Randolph are from Gilmore Girls, but Lisa Randolph also worked on Rain.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's their credits with regards to sci-fi, as close as you'll get.
Yeah, and you ask them. I mean, clearly, Star Trek Discovery is some of the worst televised science fiction ever. I know people like it, but it's certainly not very good. And whether it's frustrating to watch when you can go around and watch, like, Scott Frank writes and directs 7 episodes of The Queen's Gambit.
Well, yeah, that's got a great twist opening.
I mean,
yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Robert.
No, I mean, the television we should be getting from Star Trek should be the Tiffany standard of science fiction, with how much time and effort was already put into the franchise over the last since 1966. 55 years.
Script said something interesting before. He said you start with tier 1, laying down the Bible of your show.
Your basics, yeah.
Your basics. You create the universe, and then you bend the characters to the universe.
No, you bend the universe to the characters.
Oh, you bend the universe to the character. Okay, well,
yeah, because as you're making the characters, sometimes you'll come up with a great character that doesn't quite fit in the universe, but perfectly. But you can make adjustments to the universe because you haven't actually gone to a draft yet, and that's how you kind of reconcile this, so that your characters are driving the story as opposed to the universe manipulating the characters or manipulating around the characters to fulfill a goal that the writer has.
Right.
They're kind of doing that on the fly. They're kind of just inventing rules as they go, and it shows. Like you said, the whole thing about especially in season 2, yeah, we 2 new signals just appear. Light travels at a certain rate. It would take 10,000 years for them to see the light across. Yes, exactly.
Literally at the speed of light.
Yeah.
As noted by the letter C.
How are you?
I am doing fantastic. What's going on, panel? You got some fine people here.
Don't mind him being late. He's on high people time.
I will put it this way for Discovery. Presenting the idea that dilithium is a rarity and warp drive is virtually incapable, it kind of compels you to go back and say, oh, the Romulans now have to be a superpower because they have the alternative means of travel faster than light. And that would have been a great thing to see. Like, throughout all of Star Trek, right, since its inception, the Federation has been kind of a bit more of a dominant thing. It's multiple different planets. It's an alliance of sorts. But the Romulan Star Empire is just Romulan and Remus and whatever they occupy on top of that. And the Klingon Empire is also similar in that regards. They enslave other species. So what would the 32nd century be like if the Romulan Star Empire was 75% of the galaxy, and the Federation and Starfleet were the remaining 25%, struggling for the rights that are different from what is under Romulus's rule? Like, that is a show. There's a conflict there. There's something where the universe has different rules now because a different power is leading the way, as opposed to the Federation was during the Next Generation era and so forth. But they didn't even explore that at all. They get nothing of that. It's basically there's only one fuel source for faster than light travel, and they maybe casually talk about slipstream and they don't do anything with the spore drive because apparently they can't replicate it, which is also asinine of an idea considering they can do everything else. It just, regardless if they can't replicate it, they have one of the engineers, Stamets, who designed and built it, who could just do it again. Like, there's nothing stopping him. Like, they just throw all these potentially good ideas from an interesting premise, and yeah, you get a show where it's really just a whiny basement kid that's left alone living in a fantasy world that screams real loud and shakes up the universe,
which makes no sense on any level at all.
No.
And when Alex Kurtzman says, well, I read an Ursula K. Le Guin story about this kid he takes on the suffering of the whole town, basically a Twilight Zone episode, a good story, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And you base that, like, that's one thing, but how do you translate a child who was born on a planet with heavy dilithium and he was affected by the radiation in the womb? Like, what? And you're connected to all the dilithium in the universe? This is magical thinking. This is somebody that doesn't know anything about science fiction. That's like you're now in the realm of fantasy, not science fiction. And there's no basis in science. And
It was done better in Pen Pals, where like a young Nikki Cox is a child on a dilithium-rich planet. She's fine. She's reaching out to Data because her family has gone onto caves to hide from the damaging effects of dilithium on their planet, and the Enterprise is compelled through their emotions to get involved and save this planet and save this girl, and they have to wipe her memory, and it's a tragic story, but at least she gets to live out a life. And you're like, this is how it's done right when you're incorporating a child that's born on a planet of this rich in dilithium and has this potential and whatnot. And then you're right. Alex Kurtzman, I don't even think he read that story. I think someone told him about it.
Yeah, of course.
And then casually decides, oh yeah, we'll just, because science and magic, I mean, they're indistinguishable to a primitive species. It's like, no, you don't. That's oversimplifying what Star Trek is.
Also, the idea that I don't think anybody who's working on Discovery understands the actual distances between, say, planets or star systems in the galaxy.
Well, neither does J.J. Abrams.
No, not at all. And hence, like, who brought up? I think Tom, did you bring up the fact that those lights, the red beacons that show up, these all showed up at the same time?
Well, Rob brought it up, but I was like, yeah, literally, the speed of light is the speed of light.
I mean, it would, some of those lights. First of all, we have no way. There's no way you can suddenly see a light illuminating anywhere in the galaxy. We don't have ways to see like that. There's no technology. And when a light shows up, it doesn't show up at the same time, because whatever your vantage point is, light's going to take a long time to reach you from various positions unless they're equidistant. In which case, as soon as they illuminate, that means they illuminated in that part of the galaxy, I don't know, a couple million years ago.
Or a minimum of 10,000 years ago. And here's the other part too. Do you remember the scene where they try to triangulate a location of it? And the science of how they do that is incredibly wrong, because it doesn't you're in space. It doesn't matter. You can't triangulate the same way you would on a boat on Earth.
Right.
And that's what they do. It's like, that's not how it works. It doesn't matter where you are. You have to find 3 different reference points comparative to you in order to triangulate. And they don't even do that. They're just like, let's just warp 2 light years ahead. It doesn't change anything at that point if you're just going ahead.
No, and that's the frustrating part about watching that show, is there's no understanding at all of space. Our own Final Frontier, even the original Star Trek, had a rudimentary understanding of space, but not modern Star Trek, not at all.
Star bases that were in the distance that would take hours, but now it take years to reach.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Well, even in Where No Man Has Gone Before, where they escape the barrier of the outer rim of the galaxy, I have listened to physicists say that barrier is essentially a coincidence of dark matter that's holding the galaxy kind of together from the external aspect of things. So they're like saying, even through accident of just doing something interesting, they kind of struck on something that could be probable. They just gave us a visual representation of the dark matters in the show, as opposed to something we can't really see in reality. And it's like, wow, even in the 60s, where they didn't even have this concept fully fleshed out, and I doubt even the writers themselves even knew about it, they just wanted to do something interesting. They still stumble on something that's kind of close to scientific observation. And it's like, that's just imagination and understanding of the foundations of a hypothesis of what we can observe, what we do, and the fun ways we can have that give a cause effect to our characters. But you don't get any of that type of theory with Star Trek Discovery, especially not with Star Trek Picard. And Lower Decks kind of tries, but they really dropped the ball on that as well. And I'm worried about Strange New World.
And that's supposed to be the comedy animated film, or show. Yeah. I mean, I got to get these super chats real super quick. Death Ray Bargain Bin, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says, I've had it with half-assed minimal effort media. I don't know if you're asking for this, but I had a feeling you might be. Here's the minimum effort puppy for the minimal effort media. There we go.
My favorite puppy, by the way.
Oh, thank you, words. Miguel O'Hara is the real OG non-white Spider-Man.
Oh, that's 2099 Spider-Man.
Yep. Yeah, I think Rob's brought that up a few times whenever his favorite Spider-Man comes up.
Oh yeah. Actually, no. My favorite Spider-Man is getting a new identity now.
He's becoming Falcon. Yeah.
There you go. You can't even give him an original identity. So he's just going one copy. It's just copy and pasting him onto another character.
You're kidding.
Way to go. Yeah.
You're
Well, Jim
kidding.
Zub's writing it, so it might be something interesting. It's like a mirror universe thing.
Because we're supposed to be talking to him Saturday. Oops, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that.
Oops.
Anyway,
I didn't hear anything. What are you talking
I don't know
about?
what
What
I'm
are you
talking
talking
about.
Who?
Huh? Matt G says.
You didn't hear nothing. Got it.
Imagine Kurtzman watching Last Jedi and being like, "Oh, this movie sucks. Bad writing. I need that to happen."
He would.
He wouldn't though. He probably thinks it's genius.
This is the greatest movie I've ever seen.
That's a good super chat right there.
Absolutely. I think I might have missed a couple in between here. But we'll get back to the super chats here in just a little bit, because there is one other thing I wanted to get into here that I thought was hilarious. Not to change the subject too much, because we can get back to Star Trek real easily. I think we all kind of knew this was bound to happen sooner or later. Mattel is developing Uno the movie with rapper Lil Yachty.
Oh, for God's sake!
Wait, what?
I said you not.
They really are out of
What?
ideas.
I think Orts is too high for this news.
I know I'm not high enough. That's good God.
It's almost as bad as the idea of a Candyland movie with Adam Sandler.
That would probably be better. That would be better than this. What the?
Oh, hey, you're getting stuck in the molasses forest.
That was pretty good.
Problem is, who would Rob Schneider play?
Ooh,
play himself. He always does his-
So yeah, in case you were wondering about the Uno movie, there you go.
Because
nobody's wondering about the Uno.
I know.
I was wondering about it. I've been waiting for this since I was a kid, guys. Come on.
So you're just waiting all this time to scream Uno.
I mean, we did get a Battleship movie, didn't we? So,
but we haven't gotten a Monopoly movie yet. So
coming next summer.
All right.
And we're getting I believe a Risk films is coming out, or a TV series Risk is coming out.
I got a few ideas to pitch Hollywood. Where I'm gonna call a few people here.
Operation.
Yeah, totally.
Oh
God. Lord help us all.
Connect 4, the movie.
There you go. There you go.
If you don't connect 4, you die.
Sorry, the movie.
Where an apology gets you nowhere.
Exactly.
That's what you say. That's what you say as you're walking out of the movie. You say, sorry. He says, I'm sorry I had to sit through that.
Sorry you had to sit
For
through
God's
that.
sake. Robert Burnett is beside himself right now.
He's been quiet this whole time.
He's wondering when it's going to go on pre-sale. The tickets.
He's like, I'm trying to get my movies made, and this is the shit that gets made.
No, you can't ever think about that. I mean, it's anything getting made is miraculous.
No, that's very true.
And I just think though, knowing how hard it is to make anything, in this day and age, we live in a world where I expect a lot, and there are things that perplex me, like The Stand.
Oh God, I watched that this morning.
I won't finish it. I watched one episode. I can't finish it.
I don't understand how you have the book. Like, here's what you're adapting.
Yeah,
it's right here. Isn't this why you wanted to adapt it? Why then do you go in and say, you know what? I know better. I know better than Stephen King. I know better than the original author.
I know better than a successful novel over the last several decades.
Yeah, and like you have your template. Here it is.
I just lost all the super chats.
It's a lot of people who are just trying to use titles to sell something. You know, it's like
it's a brand recognition,
right? Yeah, they're just using the name to sell stuff. They're like, obviously Star Wars. This whole thing happened with Star Wars too. So it's like that's what they're doing. Brand recognition. That's exactly what it is, man.
But you still have to, like, the brands that you have are good brands that people like. And when you have them, you should live up to them because you could get rich. If you already have that brand recognition, aren't people obligated to make it the best thing it can be? And when you look at when I read a showrunner say in an interview that he thinks Harold Lauder is really the protagonist of The Stand, I'm like, bruh, did you read the book? Did you? When you're saying that in an interview, I'm like, how did you get this job? And it drives me insane. I just don't get it.
Yeah, you make a good point there. Part of me thinks that they got the job because someone thought, oh, he doesn't know much about the original material. He'll give us a fresh take. It'll be something new and exciting. Because, as you know, Robert, whenever you say I've got something new in Hollywood, people's attention peaks up a little because that's all they're looking for, something new. They don't want something the same, even though after you tell them something new, they ask you how many ways you can make it something similar to something else. But that's the other part too. Now I'm throwing this out as a theory because I actually have no proof of this, but Secret Hideout is clearly making a lot of money off of their Star Trek properties. I wonder how much of that is liquid, and I wonder if they're able to use that as collateral to get lines of credit and loans for other productions through larger studios, because that would make a lot of sense with regard, especially on Paramount and CBS with the merger, that they're buying stuff up and they're not really worrying about the long-term future of like a financial collapse at that point, because usually a studio, when they're worried about the dollar, they mitigate some of their buying, but Paramount's going the opposite way. So maybe they have some studios within their house that they're using as collateral in order to afford them those risks and that much ability to produce content.
Well, I mean, I think they're going to rebrand as Paramount Plus. Is that what it is?
And they cut Officer Dangle from their lineup, which is silly because Tom Lennon is like one of the best writers in Hollywood. And it's like, oh, we're just going to do a commercial where we get rid of him because clearly the rest of the shows on there are such high quality.
Well, that's Survivor, what I mean. What I find interesting is that how is it that, because we don't know anything about Star Trek, we know that Discovery, when it was put on CBS, the network, didn't work. It didn't generate any kind of an audience. And I didn't expect it to, because it was already on. The people that were watching Star Trek that wanted to were watching Discovery anyway through All Access or whatever. But you still, great showrunners like Shonda Rhimes or Dick Wolf or Vince Gilligan or whatever. These are people that are continually making good programming that you can bank on. But Star Trek, the modern guys of Star Trek, whether it was Picard or whether it was Discovery or Lower Decks, it's not like it's been universally praised, both in the media or by fans. So who is it? How is it that this continually is used as some kind of a watermark or benchmark to emulate? Like, why do you keep getting more seasons of this show? What is it about this show? Like, how does this show, one of the most expensive shows ever made, go into its 4th season? How is it making money? Like, I'm curious to know. Like, where
a lot of that going on. Like with Batwoman, they got a season 3. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Well, that's because it's uncancelable now.
It's
well,
like
they already put up the money already for you don't have to redesign sets, you don't have to you don't have to redo costumes, any of that stuff. They got a new costume in this season even, so they don't really have to do anything, and it's all CGI now, so they don't even have to have half of the sets that they do have.
Yeah. Well, and I missed some of the super chats here, and for some reason they're not showing up in the studio yet. Hopefully they will before the show's done, but let's get the ones that are on screen here real quick before they go away. Tic-Tac-Toe the movie when? Says Mr. Tuckletrunk. Probably not too far off. Mousetrap's probably next. Valiant Renegade says, sorry, the movie exec producer Kathleen. Yeah, I think we were talking about Star Wars then. Probably, or no, well, I'm not sure what you're referring to on that one, Valiant, otherwise. So, yeah. How do you fuck up the stand? Kurtzman could walk backwards and not blow it.
Clearly not.
Well, Kurtzman had nothing to do with the stand, but it still doesn't mean it's not crap. I've been watching it, and it's just, I don't know, like Robert said, I don't know how you fuck this up with the production value they got, with the cast that they have for the most part. I mean, it's one of those anomalies. How you screw this story up. Stephen Otten says Solitaire the movie coming this winter, rated R. Are you going to go see it alone?
Wouldn't it be funny if they said don't see it alone?
I was just going to say the tagline will be don't see it alone. This summer, put away your fist, put away your swords, put away your nuclear weapons. All you need are rock, paper, scissors, starring The Rock. Willie Woodward says, this ticks me off. I'm hustling trying to do my show, and these schmucks are making Uno the movie. Please tell me there's a point to trying. Well, Willie, as Robert said, I was kind of joking, but it takes 1,000,001 things to go right to make a movie. So, I mean, if any movie gets made, it's a miracle. But as far as Hollywood jumping on a trend of any kind, or at least trying to make a trend last well beyond its due date, that's nothing new in the least at all. But anyway, I'm going to try and get to these super chats again here. But in the meantime, I know there were some that had to do with Star Trek, and that's what's pissing me off. I don't know why they're not showing up in the control room. Gotta love YouTube.
I just don't know how any of you guys can watch the Star Trek
Okay,
stuff
here we
and
go.
review it. I can't, like, I watched like the first 2 episodes of Discovery, and I just could not.
It is mind-numbingly bad.
Yeah, it really is.
It hurt my brain. You are right.
Pegleg Pete said with $5, all the new Star Trek series are all hit comedies in the mirror universe. Too bad they don't work here.
Yeah, send them over to the CERN Hadron Collider. Just let
shit.
them deal with it.
That'd be nice.
What's maddening though is that apart from the horrid quality of Star Trek Discovery and Picard, and Lower Decks is actually the closest thing we've gotten to Star Trek, but even that's bad.
Right.
It's just references.
It's all references.
And as you said, Robert, if you want to watch it, you want to like it, fine, go ahead. But it's the defense of Star Trek Discovery and Picard on anything but the merits of it.
Well, what's sad is, like I said before, basically same thing, but the satirical show is the one that's the least offensive. That's what's sad.
You get people attacking the original series, attacking Next Generation, attacking Voyager, attacking Deep Space Nine, claiming, just like, but this is the first time we've had a main character. It's a black woman. Yeah, but it's shit.
I think they just didn't like Star Trek to begin with. They keep bringing, like, that article circulating again from the Inquirer from the 80s. We already have taken out of context, and proof that it was taken out of context to begin with, about how people were supposedly, they hated Next Generation when that aired.
No, people didn't hate it. They didn't like it at first. They did. There's a difference.
I wouldn't even call that.
It wasn't.
But even during season. Even during season 1 and season 2 of the Next Generation, there were still glimpses, there were still glimmers of something, a potential greatness.
Why the hell they use Measure of a Man to bounce Picard off of?
Right, Robert.
Well, that's I was going to say though that even the first season, you still had the Peabody Award-winning "The Big Goodbye" that Tracy Torme wrote. And that's a legitimately great episode. I like episode Heart of Glory. While it's a little stilted, it's still a great Klingon episode. It goes a long way toward defining Worf and Vaughn Armstrong, who later went on and played Admiral Forrest in Enterprise, does a great job as a revived Klingon. And then there's episodes like Coming of Age or 11001001.
Right.
I mean, there's some good episodes in the first season. It was Symbiosis. Yeah, I mean, there's a great talk about dealing with drugs and issues of the day. I mean, one society that's hooked another society on their drugs.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting. You go back and look at it now. It's just when people look, Next Generation, the first season is very, very.
Now, isn't that
stilted.
the one that has the kid who played Kirk's son in it too?
Yes, Merrick Buttrick and Judson Scott. Yep. And Joaquin from Wrath of Khan.
Yep.
And the Phoenix, if you ever watch that show.
Yep.
But there is that. So people, I find it interesting that our pop culture now accepts certain myths about things like, oh yeah, season 1 and 2 of Next Generation, all of it was just awful.
Yeah, everybody hated it. No, it's a bunch of revisionist history, just like when I see, by the way, when Empire Strikes Back came out, nobody liked that either. It's like, bullshit.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I can't stand that.
And I don't know where they're getting this shit about TNG. I literally remember nobody saying anything about it other than there was those few people at first that were like, you can't make Star Trek without Kirk, Spock. There was those people.
But like they were willing to be convinced.
Yeah, exactly. Once the show started, I don't remember any of that crap. I don't know where this revisionist history is coming from. Same thing like I was just saying with Empire. The only people,
I think,
everybody was upset that they had to wait 3 years for another movie, but I don't remember anybody being upset about the movie.
I would even argue that the first 4 seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation are superior to the back 3. And the first 2 seasons are far more Star Trek in the traditional sense of the original series than seasons 3 and 4, because they're actually about exploration of strange new worlds and seeking out new life. But season 3 and 4 and so forth is a bit more of the exploration of the characters, and that is also riveting as well. They did it very, very well. But you do see that the show doesn't do as much exploration in those later seasons comparative to the first 2 seasons and the original series as well. And that was kind of like the bittersweet aspect of The Next Generation. We didn't get to see a whole bunch of cool stuff. There's a lot of Federation politics, a lot of moral plays and all those things, but we didn't get it as much through the actual alienness of the galaxy as we did in the original series.
Well, as you pointed out, something significant happened with season 3, and that's Michael Piller came on board as the new showrunner, and he switched. He said, "Look, no longer are we're not going to write stories about that are external, that are outside of us. All of our stories must begin with our characters." And the stories have to come out of them, germinate from our characters themselves, as opposed to germinating from externally and coming in. We start all of our characters inside and move out. And I think that's when the show, because the 80s were a different time, and I think that it was more akin to what kind of storytelling was going on in 89 and 90, and we were leaving one decade and moving into another, and that approach is what really cemented Next Generation into the minds of not just Star Trek fans, but when Star Trek: The Next Generation went off the air, it proved that our first run hour-long syndication dramatic could work.
I was just going to say that, yeah,
something very new, and it went out with a bang. I mean, All Good Things was a huge hit. It went out with massive ratings for a first-run syndicated show.
Yeah, it ended on a very, very high note, and a lot of people were not expecting that when the series was announced. They thought it'd be canceled within the first 2 years or what have you. But to your point about Michael Piller, one of the things that I think, they hit a sweet spot, I would say, with the episode Ensigns of Command, because not only is that a good character study with Data and also Picard, but you're dealing with an alien planet with human settlers plus an alien species and their claim of that planet. And it has comedy, it has compassion, it has deep thought, it has great arguments on both sides of the people that want to stay on the planet and fight, and Data trying to convince them that it's a hopeless battle, and that the whole reason they're there is to take on challenges. And now that they've accomplished that, it's like, well, you're now just kind of in a form of a slow-moving state of progression. You're not actually building anything more. You're just kind of maintaining this. But your entire colony is here to keep growing and building and improving, and you're not really doing that. You're just trying to hold on to the past. That's antithetical to what your entire goal was from your ancestors, and that was the argument that was being that was the through line underneath everything else that they were discussing. And when you had was it Jaden was the one that didn't want to leave because his grandfather died on that hill and all that stuff,
right? And you also had a really interesting race in the Shellyak corporate.
Yeah,
that was holding you to the letter of the law, and they were a pain in the ass to deal with. I mean, that was a really interesting. There was that's a really interesting episode to cite. But you're absolutely right about this.
Well, yeah, because my favorite moment of that is when Picard realizes, I can get arbitration from another species, and since they're hibernating for the next 6 months, we have to postpone to then. And then he just leaves them on hold, and they're just calling. He just walks over to the plaque, gets off some dust, walks back to position, and says, "All right, now you can turn it on." It's like, that is a very good character defining moment for Picard, where he's like, listen, you're gonna mess with me, I can do just as much back and possibly worse. It may not be something I can do right off the bat, but time is a luxury I have.
Well, there's a great, I just looked this up quickly, there's a great exchange between Riker, Picard, and LaForge in that episode. And Riker says, "Gentlemen, we're giving you an assignment. The one thing we don't want to hear is that it's impossible." Picard says, "I need the transporters to function despite the hyperonic radiation." And LaForge says, "Yeah, but that's Yes, sir." I mean, that's a great Star Trek exchange, and there's and then even Dr. Crusher says, "Data, telling us you're going to fail before you make the attempt is never wise." I mean, that's a great That's a great. There's some great, even in this episode, which never, by the way, is cited as necessarily a great episode, but it's at the opening of the 3rd season, and it becomes like that's a bread and butter episode of Next Generation, where you're getting an interesting story, well told, and the characters, and it was written, by the way, by Melinda Snodgrass.
Yep.
Who it was the second of, she wanted to do a Data triptych exploring Data's humanity, beginning with Measure of a Man, and this was her second, and she really didn't get to write, because she left the series soon after. She didn't get to write her 3rd one.
Yeah, it was Data's Day was trying to do that with his diary to Maddox, but it just it just didn't hit as well as you'd figure it would. Because it didn't explore the stuff about Data that the first two did, which is the first one was the right to choose, which is a very important right for any sentient life form, be it artificial or not. And then the second one is the ability to pose an argument.
Right.
To allow them to choose based on all the facts available. And Data was just kind of like unable to, had difficulty understanding their perspective because he doesn't have the emotional attachment that humans have. So we had to figure out a way to work around that. And so I'd be very curious to know what her 3rd one would have been of humanity to explore for Data to reconcile with and learn. That would be, that's something we'll sadly never get to see.
But I think it's great because I was going to bring up the whole syndication thing as well, Robert, because before that, I mean, it was kind of a gamble to do anything like that. And because of Star Trek: The Next Generation, beyond the Star Trek franchise, I mean, it was basically responsible for the slew of syndicated shows we got from then on out, like everything from like Xena to Baywatch to, and then of course, Baywatch, I think, overtook TNG as the most popular one at that point. But before that, TNG was the most popular one. And it was, I just remember it being a big deal at the time. I don't get this bullshit.
Oh, it changed. The Next Generation, the fact that it was a strip syndicated 1 hour dramatic show changed the face of television forever.
That's what I'm saying. Like, before that, it was never like that.
Yeah.
And it changed a lot. Let me grab these real quick. Capester says, I lined my cat's litter box with Discovery script. When my cat said it would be redundant for him to poop there. Smart
Sounds
cat.
about right, yeah.
Quite logical. Matt G says, R&B, would you like a show that has millions of years later, when humanity is about to achieve a Q-like existence, what Q hinted at in All Good Things? Well, they already fucked that up with Discovery, but what would you say to that, Robert?
Well, wait, run that by me one more time.
What would you,
millions? Where
you said millions of years in the future, when humanity has achieved a Q-like existence, like Q hinted at.
See, the whole thing about Star Trek is an allegorical show that, through the prism of a science fiction action adventure context, it's giving us a story about how our lives could potentially be affected, or so if you move forward to where you're dealing with an omnipotent form of humanity, I think that it would be difficult to make it relevant to us as an audience. Like, what does it mean to become almost omnipotent? I mean, unless it's happening like Gary Mitchell in the first or the second Star Trek pilot, where no man has gone before, and you develop these psionic powers that make you a villain. I don't think we know what it's even like. Like, we can't even, Star Trek now, modern Star Trek, isn't even looking at our world today and extrapolating upon it to make it interesting. For instance, what happens if we're transhuman, where you can genetically, where you can pick the color of your eyes, or we can accelerate our mental capacity, and by the way, that's what should happen. The characters on in the 32nd century should be very different human beings than the Discovery crew. So the humans themselves, 1,000 years hence, with the technology that's available, should be almost unrecognizable. So if you were really going to do a very compelling science fiction story about the Discovery going into the future, they would be the primitives that encountered a civilization of human beings or others, humanoid creatures that are so far beyond them that it would be difficult for them to cope. And they went the other direction. They made the Discovery and their crew saviors of that universe, which makes no sense at all, and is certainly not what a science fiction story is all about. You know, the Discovery should go into the future and find human beings that they barely recognize and realize we're no longer we have become the primitives to our future selves, which they might as well be from another species.
Yeah,
and that would have been.
Did. Look what they did with the binary or non-binary characters on the show. It's like it's so anti how we would evolve as a society. I mean,
yes, it is.
This whole we need to label. It wouldn't be an issue. Nobody would ever feel uncomfortable in their own skin to the point where they would I don't feel male or female. It just wouldn't even be relevant anymore. You've got aliens out there who have every gender and identity and whatever combination out there. I mean, it would just be such a non-issue for somebody to be worried.
Right. We'd have been not only we've gone way past our own hangups, let alone other species.
Exactly. And the fact that they bring in this Adira character just for modern day representation as like you're saying, they should be so much more evolved and advanced than that, because that character came from the time period that they jumped into.
Well, they are, and that's why I love that bit in Star Trek 4 when they're like, "What's with all the colorful metaphors?"
Right?
Yeah. Well, what's also kind of funny is the story that of the Discovery coming to the future and helping the more advanced humans reminds me of another Star Trek episode, the Next Generation episode by also Melinda Snodgrass, which is Up the Long Ladder, where one society is advanced. Not as so much as the Federation is, but they're very advanced and they're reliant on clones to self-sustain themselves, but they got replicative phagia because they're fading, because they're cloning themselves from a clone as opposed to drawing from original genetic material, which no longer exists. And then on the other side of the other colony, which is this antiquated Irish farm village that is booming with children and holding on to the old ways, and now they have to go and help the original colony that they were from, because they're going to die out and they have to come to the reconciliation. But they are very, very different cultures as well. I know some people, at least in the North American side, I think finds that episode to be offensive. I've been to Ireland many times. I know Irish Star Trek fans that love that episode because they have relatives that embody some of the characteristics that they see. Yeah. And I know some of them personally as well. And it's a very charming and funny episode, but it deals with the concept of there's life to be had, and you just can't have a pure sterile environment. And Star Trek Discovery Season 3 could have had that. You could have had characters that genetically modified themselves so they have zero genitals. So they are truly not non-binary in any sense of the form. They would just be, like human beings, if you will, to quote Community, the human being mascot, which is just this gray guy in a suit.
Well, the idea that a non-binary character on Discovery has to tell a gay man to call her by certain pronouns in the 32nd century is the dumbest shit I've ever heard of. When you have a spacefaring humanity, what happens? What about Amanda and Sarek? You've got a human woman married to a Vulcan. We have people that are in interspecies relationships.
B'Elanna Torres, Klingon and human.
Do you think anyone is going, or you have a Trill marrying a Klingon with Jadzia Dax? The Star Trek had progressed so far beyond that. And the fact that the writers, in a science fiction context, at this point, you would have had a human being engaging in a sexual liaison with four different maybe there's a race that has four different genders. And if you really want, isn't it? Well, yeah, you want your mind blown, go get into a sexual communion or union with those people and see how it blows your mind. I mean, there's no sense of science fiction or speculation or looking to the future. It was the most on the nose of today. Where's the allegory in all of that? And like you said, Mecca, nobody in the 32nd century, 1,000 years from now, is going to care when you're part of a spacefaring race traveling all over the galaxy how you call yourself. The fact that you'd have to say, "Oh, I'm non-binary," well, what do I care?
Yeah.
Like we live in a universe where everyone is having weird kinds of sexual unions with everyone else. Where we why are you talking to me like I'm 1,000 years old? I mean, it was so That's what I mean by bad science fiction. Where's the speculation there? Where do you extrapolate? Where's a human being's sexuality going to be 1,000 years from now when you've been interacting with all kinds of aliens? I mean, James Cameron had it right. It doesn't matter whether it's Arcturian, baby, like in Aliens. Yeah. You just have that one line, like whatever the Arcturians are, it really doesn't matter. There's no gender there, so who cares? And it was a monumentally uncreative and very dumb. The show, as far as science fiction goes, really, really bad.
It's like they hear our complaints and we say, "Hey, they do it really well with the Trill, where they experience these different gender identities through the symbiotic relationship that the host and then the Trill, the worm, basically, like those sort of symbiotes. We see it evolved so much better in Deep Space Nine. So they heard the word Trill, they heard the word gender, and they decided, hey, we can make this a Trill, but then they even screw up that, because where are they putting, like, how is she, how does Adira have the physiology to even carry a Trill symbiont?
And not have it kill her like it almost killed Riker.
Yeah, I mean, she shouldn't, but they don't know. Those people didn't watch Deep Space Nine.
No,
they didn't. They're not gonna watch 172 episodes of a show. They're not gonna put in the work. It's too daunting, and I'm sure they're like, it doesn't matter anyway. Who's gonna know?
We know, we're Star Trek fans. We know.
Yes, and not only that, the idea of the Trills are such an interesting idea, and let's explore that. Let's explore that in a way. I mean, and then the thing is, if they're not going to do the work, then why do they add to the Trill mythology? They added a lot where you're supposed to look at it and go, that doesn't make what are these pools? Like, where are you getting all this from? Did you read literally the IDW comic book about the Guardian of Forever when the Tipton brothers adapted Harlan Ellison's original episode script for City on the Edge of Forever, and they literally adapted that for the third season of Discovery. They went back. They didn't look at the original episode. They went back to Harlan Ellison's original version of the script that was rewritten, that is not canonical, and they adapted that, which is so weird.
Well, yeah, it's them trying to get clout because lots of people in the sci-fi community revere Harlan Ellison,
right?
And he tells great stories. But his Star Trek one, it was a great story, but just didn't feel in line with Star Trek with that philosophy, and that's why it was rewritten. And Harlan Ellison obviously disagreed because he's very possessive, was very possessive of his work, and I understand that as a writer. But the thing is that it doesn't mean that his script was by default superior. And these writers assumed it as such. And then on top of that too, they do the most offensive thing by naming the Guardian of Forever Carl, alluding to Carl Sagan, who would look at that and be like, no, everything about that is wrong and insulting to who I am.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, to anthropomorphize, literally, it's like anthropomorphizing the Great Pyramids of Egypt. The Great Pyramids of Egypt somehow they have a human avatar, and the human avatar can dematerialize them, travel around the galaxy, and make the pyramids reappear whenever they need them.
Yeah, but their avatars are the Coneheads with Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin.
Oh man,
like that's the level that they would have done it.
Coming this summer from Pixar.
The real question is, how do these scripts get by? Like what group of people is reading these going, oh yeah, we have to do this?
Yeah, script. Tell us.
I am bewildered a lot.
I think they just go with them. They just go with their whatever first. I don't think they have anybody who's there saying you can't do this. I think they just go ahead and okay it all.
You're right.
It's in a script. Yay for you.
You guys do whatever you want, just as long as you call it Star Trek.
No, it's a bunch of people playing motherfucking pretend.
That's exactly what I was saying with the whole, brand recognition stuff. As long as it says Star Trek, guys, it's cool. You don't care what you do, just slap Star Trek on there and ship it out. It's all good.
Exactly. And I got to get to some of these super chats here too, and I apologize for those who have been waiting and all that good stuff. Boag says, Anthropyramids. Bob, have you heard of Rule 34?
I don't know. What is that?
I'm not sure myself, but I'm sure
that's over my head.
Rule 34, if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you think of it, it already exists. Isn't that the porn rule?
Oh,
if it exists, there's a porn for it.
I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what Rule 34 means.
And that is a true story.
Death Ray Bargain Bin says porn, so I'm assuming that's
okay.
I don't know from experience, but I think that's pretty true.
I think that.
So if you think there's a porn of it, there is a porn of it.
Rob should know that.
Rule 34 is an internet maxim which asserts that internet pornography exists concerning every conceivable topic.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. I thought I knew I'd heard it before.
Tom, just delete my history, okay? Something happens to me. Just delete my history, dude.
Just make sure. Okay, I'll do that for you.
I'll will my computer to you.
But what's cute is you think that you'll die before me. STD wants to act and look like other contemporary sci-fi shows, i.e., Expanse, Dark Matter, Another Life, etc. Exactly, Death Ray Bargain Bin. That's why they were going to buy the Expanse's sets until they changed their minds, or until that happened that Amazon picked up the show or whatever. I don't know if you guys remember that at all, but yeah. Sister Harrow also just donates $5. Doesn't say anything. Thank you, sir. So thank you so much for that, Sister Harrow. Then Matt G says, realized Discovery ripped off the 1960 time machine. Ripped off a lot of shit.
Yeah,
and poorly,
except for anything good. Or at least didn't do it in a good way anyway. Are we still thinking of Star Trek in terms of scripts, says Stephen Otten? Oh, with this show you can't anymore, I don't think.
I really do wish I could be a fly on the wall in that writer's room. I would love to know how they actually work, because the stories that I've heard, the stuff that I've been able to witness, if any writer were to turn in any script in that quality of Star Trek Discovery across all those 3 seasons, first, the showrunner would be like, is this a joke? And second, ask for the real thing. And then third, if they found out that it was a real thing, they would have to question themselves as to why they hired that person and immediately have to fire them.
Yeah.
Well, I think the answer is in the fact that Walter Mosley walked away, and even Chabon didn't stick around, and he's one of them. So if he can't,
Chabon is technically exposed by his input as Picard as possibly not being the sole writer of his own work.
Well, regardless,
because I enjoyed Cavalier and Che, but
that's what I'm saying, like that, or he was misplaced. Regardless, it's just stupid. Mr. Tickle Trunk sends us a super sticker. Thank you so much. Of a Sheba Dog Fart and Hearts. I think they smell like sweet tarts, as I say. Goddess of Whim says these are very good writing tips. Thanks, Script and Robert Meyer Burnett. That was from a little while ago, but yeah. And no kidding, DCV Titan. Good job, YouTube, sending those notifications 30 minutes late. They didn't send the super chat till almost 30 minutes late. You can ask these guys. I messaged them in the chat earlier. I'm like, all the super chats just disappeared. Like I had 2 super chats. It's like, wait, that ain't right.
YouTube's been on something weird. I lost subs, gained them back, lost. Dude, it's on some nonsense.
And then Miguel Hernandez brings up the good point we always ask ourselves. Why is Rick Berman not on an option for Viacom? Well, he's over working on the Orville right now, I think, ain't he? Consulting over there.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, he's probably
I thought he at least, I know he did some set visits or something like that.
Well, Brandon Braga is also a little bit.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's still there.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
But Berman, I think he's taking it easy, isn't he?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, he's living on Easy Street. He made a lot of money off Star Trek.
My mistake. I was probably thinking the other way around. My bad.
He literally could do a weekend job where he's like teaches people how to run a show if he wanted to.
No, he should do a master class.
Matt G says he'd take Favreau and Filoni making Star Trek. Well, you can't do no worse than Kurtzman and JJ.
Don't say never, man. Never say never, dude.
Well, I don't know about that. That's almost anything's an improvement at that point. Goddess Wim then send in another one before that. Says, the only shows I'm excited for right now are The Rookie, Prodigal Son, WandaVision, The Mandalorian, Resident Alien is off to a good start. And I think Rob and Mecca agree with you there. And Script as well.
Oh, yeah.
Such a good show.
Then Matt G says, oh, yeah, we read this one already. So we are caught up there, except for Willie Woodward's one that just came in. And then we are officially all caught up. Occam Razor, guys. The studio don't care, and they probably rushed and or got lazy to get them out. When it comes to Discovery, if that's what you mean, potentially.
That's I don't think Occam's Razor applies to Discovery when it comes to the studios.
They really think they're being clever in this instance. Like the writers in Discovery really think, I think they think they're giving us at this point, I think they are just so delusional that they think they're giving us what we want.
I mean, do they not read the internet?
They do, and that's the thing is every season since the first they've started out. We're fixing it. It's going to be more Trek-like. Well, and the last 2 seasons have practically been reboots. Like this new season's going to be a reboot.
Yeah, every season they reboot it. Every 6 months they reboot it practically. But no, I think they do read our feedback. That's why, they gave us Measure of a Man for Picard, because what do we always talk about? We talk about Measure of a Man was so good. And, they hear it. They just are not capable of understanding why we liked Star Trek. They genuinely think what they're giving us is good enough. They genuinely think, that is good quality program, and they really legit don't understand why, because they think, oh well, it's so diverse and it's so representative and these people really, really love it. These people are just haters and they're just sexist and racists.
Well, that's the only way they can get their heads around it, because we've seen that in that one, I can't remember her name, but Script knows who I'm talking about. He could probably remember her name, the writer who got fired from Lois and Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't remember her name, but I do know
but right there is a prime example. They got their heads so far up their ass, they think their shit don't stink, that they couldn't possibly fathom that their shit could be bad. They literally have gone to the extent, and it's not just a tactic in some cases. Like, yes, sometimes it is, but I do genuinely believe that there are some of these people who literally think that we are racist because we don't like this shit. Like they have jumped to that conclusion because it can't be because it's bad. Could never be because it's bad. It's got to be our fault.
It's always our fault, Tom. Don't you know that?
Exactly.
Well, it's your fault.
None of these people got any damn integrity, man. That's what makes it sad. Admit you messed up and try to make it better.
No, they can't do that.
Well, I mean, there's everyone's getting paid, and when you're getting paid, there's no incentive.
Oh hell no!
If there's nothing wrong, then there's nothing wrong. They keep making the show, and if someone's paying for it, of course. And apparently, they did renew Discovery for seasons 4 and 5.
Yeah, but I'm curious if it's going to be on Netflix at all. I think it's only going to be on Paramount Plus.
Well, I think that's why they did it.
But I think you're right, also, Robert, that they live in a safety bubble. I think a prime example is what happened with Walter Mosley. Like they don't see they basically are pampered. Like if something gets into their bubble that makes them uncomfortable, HR or somebody else takes care of it. If you haven't noticed. So I really
wish my HR took care of me.
No shit. Like I feel like they probably do live in a world like, I don't know if you've seen that South Park episode, Robert, but I think pretty much everybody else here was, though. And Cartman is so tired of all the shit he's getting online that he hires Butters to go in and censor his
Twitter account. Yeah.
Twitter account.
Yeah. And it's killing Butters, actually physically killing him.
He's dealing with all the toxicity that Cartman isn't. Yeah. And of course, Cartman just keeps creating more toxicity, which is killing Butters fast. It's a hilarious episode. Rude Artist says, has anyone here read The Emperor's New Clothes? Well, obviously, I think some of us have heard some variation on the story in our lives, I'd imagine.
We're the little kid yelling that the Emperor's naked.
Yeah, because it will explain why so much bad entertainment gets approved from executives. Well, not just that. What we were just talking about is another reason. The bubble. They're in this bubble that they are cushioned. You have managers and agents and publicists and everything like that between certain other things when it comes to actors, and when it comes to producers and writers. If you haven't noticed, they like to stay in their own little safe bubble, even on social media. How many of us are on blockchains?
So totally.
And even Robert, I'm sure you found yourself on a few yourself at this point, considering you hang out with hooligans like us.
Yeah, it's very, the whole thing is very interesting. I mean, look, I only look for the things that I've always looked for. Great stories, well told. That's it. It gives me no pleasure when things aren't good. And I find it very interesting that in criticizing storytelling, you get branded, like you said, a racist, or somebody is besmirching your reputation because you don't like a piece of entertainment. It's very odd.
Yeah. My thing with it, God, man, I just can't believe when these people don't realize that they've written something that the fans don't like. I mean, you said they see it, right? You said they see it on the internet, but then they try to write something good, which obviously they're not listening to the fans. They can't be listening to us. They They can't be taking our pleas. They're not taking them into consideration. They can't be with this
what it is. I think Ords is the best analogy I can come up with. Is that lazy ass kid who you keep telling, it'd be nice if you just did the dishes, or you vacuumed, or you did something in the house, and they literally do the minimum, most easiest thing in the house, and they act like they did the greatest thing ever, and you're the one being unreasonable because you're upset that they didn't do all these other things, but they did do, they did empty the ashtray in the living room. They got that.
See, I think what people forget, and I haven't watched a ton of Star Trek in my life. Star Trek was one of those shows for me where it was if I was up late at night, it was what was on, so we watched it. You know what I mean? And my favorite is Next Generation. That's my favorite. Q, my favorite character. Love that whole arc. But I think what people lost sight of Star Trek was nobody went to Star Trek to watch special effects. All right. That's not why you went to Star Trek. You went to because the storytelling was so good. It drew you in from beginning to end. That's what Star Trek is about. Telling stories, not flashy things, not just let's, feed them full of eye candy and special effects. That's for Star Wars. Let Star Wars do that. All right. Star Trek is about the core story, the storytelling, and that's what I love about Star Trek.
Well, right, and you're on point. And I don't remember if you were part of this conversation. I think you were, Robert, where we were talking about just the other night on, I think it was Comics or one of the other channels, where we were talking about how part of the appeal of Star Trek was so much more that, we knew that the sets were made out of cardboard and plastic and duct taped together, but they sold it. Like Shatner sold it, and they all sold it so much, and that was what we got into. We knew we played along.
That right there, when your acting is so good and your story is so good that you're not even paying attention to the sets, you got something there.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's about the attention that you're able to draw, and on top of that too is like I hear this argument that people are like, oh yeah, the original Star Trek was on a shoestring budget. I'm thinking, no, it wasn't. At the time, it was pretty darn expensive.
It was really expensive.
And it got, and I air quote here, cheaper later on because they've spent all that money. They're not getting as much later in the third season. So they used whatever they could to, sell the idea. But it was still pretty pricey at that time. Now, when you compare that numerical value to the Next Generation, it looks like a shoestring budget by comparison, but they still... Even Next Gen, people are now saying like that was on a shoestring budget compared to Discovery, and it's like, well, compared to Discovery, like $10 to $15 million an episode. Of course, that's the whole season for Next Generation.
Discovery, dude.
Yeah, I've heard some people compare the budgets between Discovery and Next Gen, and it's like, really? What?
No, you can't. But here's the other thing: is with Star Trek, when the original Star Trek came out, we had very little serious sci-fi at that point. Like it was still like you had things like 2001 and like that in Star Wars changed sci-fi forever, and then Star Trek was able to benefit from that and the special effects realm, but that wasn't anything that really drove the movies either, even though the movies had ILM a part of them for many years, up through I think even some of the TNG movies, if I'm not mistaken. And that wasn't a big selling point of the films, because in fact, the one everybody's favorite Star Trek film is one of the cheapest ones, and that is Wrath of Khan. And then the next favorite one is the even cheaper one, and that's Star Trek 4, which I think Star Trek 4 was arguably the cheapest one, if I'm not mistaken, right, Robert? Considering the fact that
it was a little bit more expensive because
I couldn't remember the budget, but yeah. But I know they didn't spend nearly as much on those latter.
I have to grab a phone call.
No, you're fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, the other part too, Star Trek 4 had actually a funny little byproduct aspect, which is I saw this circulating Twitter the other day. The beluga whale, humpback whale, were like pushing extinction in the 80s, and now they've got several 100,000 of them back to this day. And whether that is a direct correlation or not, it's just kind of a little funny thing. It's like they gave us a point about how there needs to be a little bit of consideration with the choices we make and how they can affect us in the future. And that was the running theme is if we're reckless in the present, then we could suffer a great deal of consequences in our future. And we should always just take a moment and think about our actions before we leap to the conclusion. And Star Trek Discovery is the exact opposite of that. They're not even thinking about their actions, and so they're just kind of like bandaging over and over again to try and fix the stuff that they broke, not understanding how they broke it because they didn't take the time or effort to.
And that's where you get continuity issues. You know what I mean? And where people are just trying to make something that's entertaining with, diverting from the original story or the original canon, and it just muddies up the water. And then they got to fix that. And it's just. Ugh. Sorry.
No need to apologize at all.
No, it puts a bad taste in my mouth, man. It makes me not even like, and that's sad to say. Like, I have no interest in watching Star Trek currently. That breaks my heart, man.
Well, R&B had to run because something came up work related, he said. So unfortunately, we have to say goodnight to him. But do check out the Burnett work. That's where you can find Robert's YouTube channel and all his stuff over there. Was there anything else? Oh, yeah, not really. Was there really much else we had to discuss, guys? Or was there anything else? Anything on anybody else's mind?
I wonder if Leslie Jones will ever be able to play a different type of character in something.
No.
Go watch Resident Alien. Watch Resident Alien. We want to talk about good things.
Oh yeah, Resident Alien.
Then everyone will leave and start talking about something
good. So far, so good. At least for me, so far, so good. I'm hoping it sticks to end.
Funny. He's like Alan Tudyk. So Alan Tudyk plays this alien who's trying to hide out in a small mountain town in Colorado, and he's trying to not blow his cover, and it is so funny how it is everything that was funny about Data and Star Trek. It was everything that was funny about, any sort of weird fish out of water sort of thing. But then there's a twist, and then there's another twist, and then there's all these cool things. They subvert your expectations without being annoying, without letting you down. They subvert them in funny ways and fun ways.
I was wondering about that show. You saying it's good, huh?
Oh, it's so good.
Okay.
It is so amazingly good.
Well, I know Alan Tudyk. He's kind of a Disney guy and stuff. So,
well, and then every character that's in the show is like they're giving they're like we have characters that are people. They're believable people, and not just these cardboard cutouts for the main character to react against and act against, like in freaking Star Trek Discovery, like all these people are. Rob's probably muted.
Sounds promising. Yeah, it sounds promising. And honestly, I like Alan Tudyk. I think he's cool. I like his voiceover work is great.
He's just so good at anything, and the way they sell the show as being this. Well, how would you describe it, Rob?
It's like Northern Exposure. I described it earlier. It's like if you dropped Roger, it's not kind of like Roger from American Dad. It's almost if you drop Data into Northern Exposure.
And Data wanted to annihilate humanity.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, he's he's having trouble adapting, and it's like I said, he's. The best part is that Alan Tudyk, he's playing it legit. He's playing it, not playing it straight, but he's legit is the alien. You believe he's this alien in disguise, and that's the thing. He really sells it, and that's part of the charm.
I gotta check it out, man.
All right.
I was curious about that one.
Roger Zimmerman says the Twill Pond stolen from Stargate SG-1, the Gould parasites, if I'm saying that right.
That is the correct pronunciation, yeah. Oh, well, I mean, there's also, I think in Deep Space Nine, there was like a, looked like a well where the symbionts were born, that Jadzia went into.
DCV Titan says, just like in Law and Order. Clunk, clunk.
Yep, that's actually something that's from the show.
Right.
Figured as much. The way Rob laughed.
Yeah.
Just like in Law and Order. Clunk, clunk.
Yeah.
Frankly,
I'll have to try and check that out. I think that Miyagi documentary came out today, didn't it?
This week, yes. I haven't checked it out yet, but I want to.
Yeah, I want to see that right away when it comes out. When does it come out?
Doesn't media get released on Tuesdays?
Usually, but this is for Apple Plus.
Oh.
I thought it came out this week on this past Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, tomorrow.
Oh, it is tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I got that copy of Star Chaser actually.
You did.
Yes. I got to say the slipcover is a lot more impressive than the actual cover.
Yeah. Well, what upsets me is they give you a 3D lenticular cover, but the movie was in 3D in theaters, but it's not in 3D on Blu-ray. I realized that's probably why I never got it before. I was probably waiting for a 3D Blu-ray and it never happened.
I, for the longest time, couldn't remember the title of that movie. For the longest time, I was like, "Oh, there's the animated movie in the '80s," and I asked people.
That happened to me with a porno once.
Yeah, well, yeah, I remember that one. The chick, she wanted to be a cheerleader, and like Debbie Does Dallas. Yeah, that's it.
Do you know how hard it is to Google for a porn?
No.
You got to sift through a lot of shit.
Tom, IAFD, Adult Internet Film Database.
No, I figured it out. It was kind of a silly story, but anyway.
Well, still,
Okay.
IAFD. If you haven't
Star Crasher, that's what you said.
Yeah, it was like an animated, kind of like in the vein of Star Wars, came out in the wake of it all. And is it a Don Bluth movie or who did it? I can't remember. Is it a Bakshi one?
I think it's Ralph Bakshi.
I think it's a Bakshi one, yeah. But not one of the more well-known ones, I guess. But
Stephen Hahn did that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was a specific porno that was on one of those 6-hour tapes. So for some reason, I couldn't remember the name of it, obviously, but my cousin and I were trying to figure out what the fuck it was, and yeah, we finally figured it out one time. It took a long time to figure it out, though.
Now it says I'm looking at it. It says that Star Chaser, the animation was rotoscoped. I'm not entirely familiar. What is that when they have actors act it out and
stand? Yeah, Bakshi did that a lot.
Yeah, and then they animate over it.
Yep. Yeah, like the Lord of the Rings that he did was like that. Anything that's generally not a humanoid.
Darkly was a more recent version of that.
Yeah, and pretty much anything that's not a non-animal character, he generally does that with. He kind of pioneered that, I think, didn't he? I mean, well, it's always something that's been around, but
yeah, definitely made it better.
He brought it it was kind of his style, and it was really cool.
Rotoscoping, an animation technique that animators use to
cartoon, man. Tom has really turned this into Midnight's Edge After Dark with his porno talk. You must not hear Rob when he gets going on some of his porno talk. Holy shit.
It's been a while since he's done a big rant about it.
Yeah. But speaking of getting to do talks and things that Rob doesn't know about quite yet. If we get shit caught up here soon, there's some expanding we're going to be doing, I guess. I can't get into it too much right now, but we may be looking at another music channel, but where it's mostly about discussion and, of course, interviewing musicians and shit like that.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
That would be something for Rob to play around with mostly. So. All right.
Nice.
Stephen Otten says, call me when there's a 3D Blu-ray for Metal Storm. I'm dating myself with that one. I think Metal Storm actually has one. Unless there's two of them I've been waiting. Is Space Hunter the one with what's her face from all the John Hughes movies?
Ringwald.
Ringwald.
Yeah, that I don't know.
That one I think was in 3D, and so was Star Chaser, and those were two movies that I was waiting for 3D that have not gotten 3D. But I got Metal Storm, I think, in 3D. I'm pretty sure. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Metal Storm, the destruction of Jared Sin, right?
Yeah, that was like a Charles Band movie. Yeah, you're right, Bogey. I didn't even think of that again. I mean, I remember, but I didn't think of it when I was just talking about it. They did that for the old Superman cartoons as well. So yeah, it's always something that's been around. It's just the way that Bakshi did it was much different. Yeah. Space Hunter will never happen. It's been on Blu-ray, but not the 3D version, I don't think. Obviously, or I would have it probably. Yeah. All right, kids. Was there anything else? Yeah, Rob's Kazoo channel. You can start a Kazoo channel if he wants to.
All public domain kazoo songs.
Oh, that'd be great. Do it. I love it. I would.
Midnight Special, public domain.
This sucks.
I couldn't resist. All right, kids. Let's call it a night. What do you say? It's almost 10 o'clock where I'm at. It's almost 11 where Rob's at. Poor guy. He's got work to do too and all that good stuff. So till tomorrow, check out Ord's Board's channel. We didn't really get to say hi to Ord.
Sorry. Nah, that's good. Hopefully everyone's well.
Yeah. It's been a while since you got to hang out, but you popped in here at the end here, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course, like I said, we didn't get to say hello to you quite right, but hello and thank you for popping in. And
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, man.
And of course, check out Script Doctor's channel, check out Mecha Random's channel, check out Rob's Kazoo channel.
Subbed.
Yeah.
I have a video where I talk about a chick's butt.
That's always good.
It's a hot chick's butt too. Hot chick from Mass Effect's butt.
We got some
Ivana Straskowski, whatever.
What is this?
Miranda,
The
whatever.
chick from Chuck.
You
No,
sound
the one
like
in Mass Effect.
Spanish. Yeah. All right, kids. Take care, everybody. Take care of yourselves, your friends, your buddies, your mother, your